What do you do when you realize that you are over functioning? You are doing way more than you should, and you are paying the cost. Your energy, your patience, your sleep, all of it is going in the tank. And you know you need to do something for yourself, but it's so hard to stop. What do you do? How do you make that switch? Well, today we're going to talk about 2 small steps that can help you reduce overfunction in one area and also help take care of yourself.
Hey friend, do the daily demands of family life leave little time for self-care? Are you losing yourself in the process of caring for others? Are you ready to make self-care and healthy boundaries a natural part of your day while embracing your roles as a wife and mom? Well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm Christina, married 17 years to a neurodiverse man, mom of 3 neurodiverse kids, and many more roles. Welcome to the Moms and Neurodiverse Families podcast. Get ready to begin your self-care journey. Grab your planner and listen in as we take another small step towards a peaceful, healthier you.
We're going to be chatting about our energy, our time, activities, and the deficits we face. And if you would like to have tips and encouragement, I encourage you to sign up for my email list. The links are in the show notes below. And I'll send you every 2 weeks or so an email with either funny stories or encouragement. And I'd love to have you along in the behind the scenes. Now let's talk about energy and capacity. Many years ago, I looked at my calendar and I saw 95% of the events on the calendar was focused on someone else, on the home, on the family, on my husband, on my kids. And there was one event I had every week that was for me, and that was a Bible study. They had childcare, which was amazing. And I began realizing there was a problem when I would drop off the kids for childcare, and I would walk to the study very slowly. I would take my time. I would find ways to just slowly get there, not because of the study. No, that was great. It was because I finally had a moment of time to myself. And when I realized that I was trying to squeeze as much time as I could between walking from the childcare room to where the Bible study was, and that I was contemplating skipping study sometimes and curling up in a ball in a corner someplace so I could have some solitude and quiet, that really shook me because I enjoy doing Bible study with other women. I love the companionship. I love the one another's being together in a group. But I was at such a point that I was contemplating that, and it shook me. Have you been there where you have that a moment of time to yourself, and either one, you don't even know what to do with yourself because you're not used to having time to yourself, or two, maybe you're just stuck frozen because there's so much you want to do, you don't know what to do, or you end up using that time taking care of someone else. If you're in this situation, don't be upset with yourself. You have learned to overfunction when there are so many great needs in your family. And while there are moments where we have to really invest extra amount of time, such as there is sick kids, you got flu going through the house, or there was a car accident and there's someone recovering. There are moments when definitely they're intensified. However, a general lifestyle of overfunctioning, that is something completely different. So, what I would like us to focus on is time that helps you and I refuel, refresh ourselves. It gives us the ability to be a wife and mom, for doing your job, for your ministry. That is the goal. When we're looking at taking time for ourselves, it's to one, take care of ourselves, but also it enables us to do the roles that only we can do. Why is this important, Christina? Why should I really consider this? I have so much that I need to do every single day. I know. I know so well. I am still in that myself. However, being in a desert of energy where like there is no energy, you can't muster up anymore, you are burnt out. This desert of energy, this exhaustion, being burnt out, does not resolve itself on its own. And what really stinks is what's required of you, what's needed by you, like the basics, not like what you currently are doing, but the basics level of needs doesn't change as a mom or as a wife, or if you're working full time or doing ministry. So I want to encourage you right now that you need to choose yourself so you can be there for others. And every single day, I know this, every single day you do hard things. You wake up knowing there's going to be meltdowns or angry outbursts, whether in public or at home. You know there's going to be a fight over fill in the blank. Is it food? Is it the socks? Is it clothes? Is it transitions? And every day you choose to do the hard things. Yes, there's moments when you back down and like, I just can't fight this battle. But oftentimes you're doing that every single day. Now I'm asking you to do the hard things, but now you're going to focus on yourself. So how do we go about this? Like Christina, like I don't even know where to begin. Like everywhere I look around me, all I see is take care of this, do this, needs, needs, needs. There are two main steps, but one is we're going to remove overfunctioning in one area and we're going to add in self-responsibility. Now, overfunctioning is an excessive responsibility of others. Repeat that. Overfunctioning is an excessive responsibility of others. And this is difficult in neurodiverse families if you're dealing with autism, ADHD, sensory challenges, because there are some things that we do need to do for a family because there is no capacity. It's not that they are choosing not to do it. There are some things that they cannot do, and we need to navigate for them in those areas. However, because of those areas they're having difficulty in, sometimes we can take more responsibility than that's needed in other areas of the life. So I'm going to walk you through a couple examples of this. So again, overfunction is excessive responsibility of others. And what we're trying to do is add self-responsibility, responsibility for yourself, for your care. So how do we begin removing overfunctioning in one area? So we're looking at activities, we're looking at your responsibilities list, at actions, something that you can remove from your list. And this is something that I continue to do today. I remember when I first began this, I was thinking like, what can I remove? This can be appointments. This can be meeting with a certain therapy that you're like, you know what? The amount of time we're investing into this, we are not getting the time, like we're not getting the gain from it. And so maybe that means you need to go to different therapists, a different type of therapy, or maybe they've outgrown the need for it. Who knows? But for whatever reason, that is not serving. So there you can remove those. Or what I find often is actions at home that we can reassign. So let's take an example of laundry. I feel like that's one that we all can relate with. And first is, what can you delegate? Now, again, I'm going to use a laundry example that everyone who's in the house who is like adults, so your spouse, and then older children have responsibility for their own laundry. Now, clarifying that statement, if you have young children, I find that the best age is above the age of 6 to begin this. 8's optimal, but 6 they can begin some of the tasks, as in learning how to put the wash in the wash machine. We teach this over a slow amount of time. But if young children, this is not something they can do. They don't have the ability for that. Also, if your child is severely impacted in their executive functioning, depending upon the impact of their diagnosis, how much it impacts their ability to do tasks in succession, this may not be possible for them even if they're 15. You can slowly work your way with that. For example, a child learning how to put their clothes into the wash machine and adding the soap, That is something that can be taught, and after a while, you add on more. In the beginning, maybe you sort the laundry, and then later on, you add on that task. Hey, we need to sort the laundry. There's ways we can break this down. But the biggest thing is if someone is able to do this, and I would say if someone is able to work a job, they are able to take care of their laundry. So the goal is that you're delegating laundry over to those who can do it. This may require training, and that's okay. And I would suggest get a piece of paper and break down the steps. Like, what are the steps for doing laundry? Well, we have first, you have to gather the laundry. So that means they have to gather from all the different nooks and crannies of the house. And one of the goals can be using your laundry basket. It really does help. You don't have to do a search and find and rescue mission to find the laundry. Next step, well, that would be sorting. Now, my kids right now, because of their clothes, they're able to wash most of it all together. There's a few things that they can't do that with, but because of the clothes that they wear, they can all put one laundry. But you may want to teach sorting. And then the next thing is obviously the soap and the water and so on and so on. I think you get the picture. It's breaking down that task. Because again, let's fast forward. If when they're 18, do your kids know how to do their laundry? And as I mentioned before, if you can hold a job, you can do the laundry. May they have to do this over multiple days? Yes, they might have to wash one day and dry and then another day put it away. That's okay. But the goal is that you are delegating, you're pushing responsibility over for their own good, but also for your own. Another thing you can look at doing is reduce the activity, then delegate. For example, you wash and dry their clothes, but they need to put it away. You might have to start there. Another thing we can look at is cutting out activities or actions. So for example, maybe your younger kids, they can't do their laundry yet. But when you put their clothes away, you don't spend the extra time reorganizing their drawers or their closet, the hangers. You're not spending the time getting it all nice, neatly orderly, knowing that they're going to be in there and it's going to be a complete mess. Like, yes, you don't want it to be destroyed, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be Pinterest level organized. So look at ways that you can cut out activities. So yes, the closet still needs to be basically functioning. You can find like the socks are one area, underwear is one area. Yep. But the socks don't have to be all nicely laid out. In fact, if your kid does get upset if their clothes aren't laid out in a certain way, it's good for them to get used to variety, because the reality of life is that it's not always the same thing every single day. And having the clothes aren't folded the way that I thought they should be, or that helps them deal with the differences in life. The fact that, well, I want my clothes, my drawer to look that way. Okay, fine, you can do that, but mom is not going to spend the time doing that. If that makes any sense. So I know there's some kids who really get frustrated when things don't look a certain way, and can be very rigid. By having things slightly different, it helps them to increase their tolerance. That's the word I'm looking for. We want to increase their tolerance for differences and for incongruities, because that is life itself, right? There's so much that doesn't go our way. Driving in traffic, we go to the grocery store and there's milk and that is out at the store. We have to go to a different store. Those things happen, and we want to help increase that tolerance for our children. Now, the last thing we can do is letting go. And this one can be hard sometimes because this is not as tactile as putting away laundry. I remember when my kids were starting to take care of their laundry, I knew there'd be a phase process with this. And one of the items was wrinkles, that they didn't put their clothes, they didn't hang it up right away, fold right away, and it was wrinkly. And for a time being, I had to just go with it and let it go. Because if I stepped in, then I was stealing away from their learning process. Eventually, we added in, listen, we need to be presentable, and your shirt with hundreds of wrinkles on it is not an acceptable shirt, because that would not work for a job, would it? Or another example is, I didn't wash my clothes, so I'm wearing shorts and it's 35 degrees outside. So we have rules we did around clothes, as in it has to be clean, it has to match, and it has to be right for the weather. And being clean also included the wrinkles, and it doesn't have stains on it. we had to do a phase approach with this, but my kids know, like, these are the basic standards, because in the real world, if you're working, whether it's at a food establishment or you're working in a service industry or in an office, your clothes, they need to be clean. They can't be wrinkly. They can't be stained. And they have to match, and they have to be right for the weather. Those are very basic. Now, when I was younger, did I want my kids to all dress up in sweater vests and little ties and hats? Oh, yes, I tried, and I wanted that so bad that I had to let go. That's just was not going to work with the sensory challenges my kids had at that age. So does that make sense? What I'm talking about is that we're keeping the basic standards, but we're letting go of, we're focusing on what is important in that moment, and we're letting go of other things. So wrinkles, yep, I've addressed it, but at that moment, the main goal was them taking care of their clothes. Now, the other half of this, we talked about removing overfunctioning, removing the excessive responsibility of others. Now we're going to add in self-responsibility. My question to you is, in that time slot, so either in the same time when normally you'd be doing an activity, or in a time gap you have in the day, you choose. What is something that you can do for yourself that would be fuel, that would be replenishing, refueling? What would be that activity for you? And as you know, the planner that I am developing focuses on 4 main areas: mind, your mental health, emotional health, and then health itself, that looks at your physical health, that looks at your food, your diet, your movement, activity. Community, that is focusing on your friends, that focuses on support groups, your connections. And then enjoy, that is the hobbies, that is the activities that you enjoy doing. What is one of those categories? What is something that you can choose to do? Let's say you enjoy gardening, and depending on the time of year, right now it's cold and not as much sunshine. So this could be the time that you are looking at gardening magazines, and you're looking at different seeds, and maybe in a couple weeks you start planting. You start the little seedlings, and you have your growing lights out. Having that hobby every day could be, once you get going, 10, 15 minutes. But how much joy would that give you? Or maybe for you, it's, okay, I love to write. So you're going to journal. You're going to write down your thoughts. You're going to get the things in your head out. Or maybe it's drawing. You're going on YouTube and you're spending 10 minutes watching someone draw a flower or a fox or an outdoor scene, and you're copying that. There are so many different options that you can do. Talking to a friend. Whatever you choose, the point is that you are saying no to being excessively responsible for others, no to overfunctioning, and you're saying yes to self-responsibility, that you have the responsibility for yourself and for your needs. And over time, I began slowly chipping away at each of these items. And as the therapies progressed and also benefited the children, they also became more self-reliant. Did it take a lot of work on my part? Yes, it did. But the more I focused on myself and being self-responsible for my needs, it gave me the ability to be more present for others. So I hope this gives you some ideas. So real quick recap, we're looking at how we're going to reduce our overfunctioning. So we're removing something that that other people can do for themselves, and especially they need to be able to do on their own. And again, we always look at if someone is working a job, or someone, maybe they're not working a job, but they have the capacity to work the job, we can pass this over. Will there be pushback? Yes. There will be pushback, high chance, but what you're doing is for the good of the person, because you get in a car accident and you're laid up for 3 months, what's going to happen to their laundry? And this question often helps me when I begin thinking like, it's so much easier if I do it. There's less complaining, there's less behaviors. But then when you fill in that question, but if I am not able to do it for 3 months, what would happen, ... That might give you the energy, okay, I can face the avoiding, the reminders. I can do all of that, knowing that what I'm doing for them is for their good ultimately. And also, you're taking responsibility for yourself and taking time for yourself. Last question. What would it be like if you carved time for yourself? What would be the impact on your mind and your heart if you began carving small times every day and every week for yourself? What would be the impact? I think it'd be pretty amazing. I'd love to hear from you what you are thinking of removing from your list and adding to it. Send me a message either through Instagram or through Facebook, and I'll talk to you later.
Hey, thank you for joining me today. I pray this episode gave you encouragement to take one small step. If so, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help other women find this show. By the way, if you're loving this conversation and want more encouragement like this, join my email list at bit.ly/myselfcare. That is bit.ly/myselfcare. I have a planner launching soon that will help you put all this into action in your own life. I look forward to chatting with you again next week for another episode.